What's going on, folks? My name's Matthew, aka EZBOT, and we're back with another live stream. It's Saturday. What a wonderful day to be streaming. And fortunately, here in Seattle, it's actually not raining, so I got to take a little trip outside and walk the dog and what have you. And it was a little inspiring, and it gave me the energy to be like, hey, let's go jump in the studio and do some music production. And I really wanted to play with my MA tracker. It's been sitting next to me and I hadn't been playing with it very much because I've been so distracted by Toneverk and TR-1000 that I've neglected my favorite piece of music gear that I have in my studio. Recently, I had a session with a student who, it's an MA tracker user and is pretty familiar with the device, and was asking me where I start when I make tracks. And my answer was that I usually start with the chord progression. And honestly, that's how I usually start all of my music, is with the chord progression, because that's just really natural for me. Grew up playing guitar, and that's what you do on your guitar. Usually, unless you're playing with other people, typically you got to play chords, because anything else just is noodles, right? Just noodling around. So on the M8, it's a similar experience too. It doesn't have to be. You can write a lead and then throw a bass line underneath it, or write techno or whatever, and you don't need to do that at all. But for the most part, what's really fun on the M8 tracker is writing these heavily melodic song structure type music. And that's something that I absolutely love and is just very natural for me. So on the Mate, there's a couple different ways to do chords. I made the little track that you heard at the very beginning of this session was what I showed off or wrote during the session with the student that I was working with. And if you're interested in learning the MA tracker with someone like me, you can visit ezbot.live and book sessions with me. But besides that, today we're just gonna hang out, play around on the M8 tracker. We're gonna make some music from scratch. I'm probably going to start from zero. I'll play a little bit of what I have right here and just talk about what I'm doing, and just some neat sound design tips, hopefully, is what I intend to get to. And then just talk about why, or a really easy tip for you to make a chord progression that you like. So let's dive into the Mate real quick, shall we? Bonk. Here we are with the Mate cam, which is looking a little stretched. Let's fix that. There we go. I don't like that stretch look. Hopefully you can hear me all right. Hopefully you can hear the M8 all right. Let's check it out. Okay, so this is what I was showing off at the very beginning here, is a little chord progression. And honestly, there was this tip that I watched this video a while back by the Ranjit. What is this thing down here? Wait a second, hang on. Let me fix this second cam. I want... Wow! There's two of me. That's pretty cool. Interesting. Okay, well, let's just deactivate that cam, shall we? Bonk. Forget that cam for now. We'll deal with that later. Okay, so I was watching this video by the Ranjit a long time ago, years ago, in fact. I think the video's been out for a long time, and it was going through his production workflow, or their production workflow, on how they make music on the M8 tracker. And it's a really inspiring video. I highly recommend you check it out. It's about 3 hours long, so it's a lot like what I do here. But when he made the video, he was much further along in his skill set with M8 tracker than I was when I watched it. So it was a really great video for me to watch. And he did this thing when he was making a chord progression, and it's just a really useful idea. And I've definitely borrowed it. And essentially, it was just doing a random, like, selection like this. It's not necessarily random. We don't want the random notes. We just want the random pattern, and then assigning chords to the random pattern, and you can move things around here as well. So it's really nice. And you can just play around with these different rhythms, essentially. It was a great tip for making a chord progression, and that is what I did when I made this progression here. And I'll just let this play all the way through and just kind of talk about what's going on. It's a pretty simple track so far, and that's kind of how the M8 tracker in music production works. Is it's really simple at first, and then you just keep refining and reiterating it. It's a little bit different than the Electron workflow in regards to the process of making music. There's still the copy, paste, iterate, but it works in a different way because you are a little more detail oriented on the M8 tracker than you are on Electron boxes. Even though this is kind of an interesting side note about Electron versus M8 because they're so similar, but with the Electron workflow, you have way more parameter locks on a per step basis than the M8, significantly more. It's at least 16, I believe, parameter locks on a per step. So I can literally make each step have 16 different values assigned on that step. Whereas like on the M8, you have note, velocity, and 3 effects lanes, and then you have your tables, and the tables can do unique things as well. But even with less parameter locks on a per step basis, the detailing that you can do on the M8 and in terms of a song structure is far easier to do. So this is where I think that music production on the M8 versus music production on Electron, and when I play shows, I split up my shows between 50-50 with the M8 and 50-50 with Dig-A-Tag, Digatone. But both of them I use the Octatrack because I'm an Octatrack freak. I love the Octatrack, and it's good with everything. And I do that because they're two different styles of performance. On the M8, it's much more of a DJ experience because there's less stuff for me to tweak because it's harder to do that on the M8 because it's more song structured and it doesn't have as many things to tweak, firstly, and just because of the way it handles incoming MIDI stuff, and there's not encoders, right? So it's just different. It's a different experience. That's why I use the Octatrack, and I built a specific performance template for the Octatrack just for the M8. I call it the Hyper Effects template, and another one called the Hybrid 4x4 template. And these templates let me like jam on over the M8 with the M8's audio, so I can just like mix it up, destroy it, all synced up to the music. And I love doing that, and it works really well. But on my Electron stuff, my performance is less performance mixer oriented, and I use more like subtle, gradual effects on Electron, and I play with the encoders more, I play with the sounds more. So it's a different workflow, it's a different idea, and I just wanted to make note of that because this is a very heavily Electron-inspired channel, but it's also 50% of my music live is on the M8, so it's like I do a lot of Electron stuff, mostly Electron stuff, but when I go and play shows, I'm doing a lot of M8 tracker stuff because I love the M8 tracker, and the music I write on it is vastly different than the music I write on Electron. And that itself is a whole conversation that we could have. But when I'm starting songs on Electron, I do similar stuff to what I do on the M8. I'm usually grabbing a chord, but on the Electron stuff, it's often a sample unless I'm starting with the Digatone, which is a great, truly polyphonic, fantastic synth. My favorite synthesizer that I own, second favorite synthesizer I own would have to be the Melbourne Delia, and I haven't tried the new update, which I really want to try out. That would have been a good thing to do on today's stream, but we're hanging out Saturday. I got an espresso. Let's jam on the Mate. So back over to the Mate. Look at this beautiful thing. Look at it, it's gorgeous. Just lovely. So let me play this for you really quick. It's not like, it's not the best music in the whole world yet. or will it be? I don't know. But I like the progression. It's got a bit of somberness to it, but also I don't know. It's like that in-between melancholy thing. I don't really know how to pinpoint it. Cool. So pretty simple so far. And this is kind of like how a lot of the tracks that I do start. Like they start, pretty simplified. And I go in and I listen to it, kind of like what we do when we're writing music in general. We kind of loop stuff over and over and over. And you start at least for me, as I'm listening to a loop, I start to hear things that don't exist in the music. And I start to trim things out or cut things up in certain ways and then adding things. And that's just the way it works in my brain. And that feels really natural for me. I did notice as I was listening to this, I have this second set of chords. This is being sidechained by the kick. And I realize it's way, way, way too much. That's better. Okay, cool. So let me just talk about this chord stuff for a second. I mentioned that we were just using like a randomly generated a pattern. And then I have just a classic 4 on the floor backbeat to it just because I needed something to take up that space, essentially. It wasn't even about that drum beat is nothing to me, essentially. It's just a metronome that sounds right for the music. It's a metronome that works for the tune, but I'll go in and completely edit that. I'll possibly change out the kick, possibly change out the hats, add snares and drum fills and breaks where there's silence and chords that open up. Like I will do a lot of work to this massaging to get things to feel right. But this initial progression is not a big deal. You don't have to do all that right away. You can do that later. And so like as a guitar player, a lot of times you have these, you just start with a chord progression, like a simple chord progression, and then you start adding these nuances to the chords where you're like plucking a note first, or you're plucking a few notes of the chord instead of the whole chord, or playing half the chord first and the second half of the chord, a few 16th notes later. Just a whole bunch of different ways that you're gonna adjust the chords. That being said, doing stuff on the M8 has rails and it has some stuff you have to deal with. There's some rules around it, so to speak, that can make it a little different than what you're used to doing when you're working with chords, because it doesn't have polyphony. It does have a chord effects, so you can send just like, I want to build a chord, but it's made for MIDI. But as you saw, you can see the little keyboard here. It's actually showing you what chord you're playing. And right in this specific engine, you can see these note values that are they're like relative note values. So over here we have the main note. So it's playing a G sharp 5, and then all of these values are relative from G sharp 5 on the keyboard. And that's hard to explain what we're seeing here, but you don't need to know like the nuance of that. You don't need to know all of that data. You just need to hear it and know what sounds good. A good rule of thumb for making a progression that works, no matter what key or scale or anything you're doing, just a really simple rule of thumb for chords that is just so easy. You can walk over to your piano or grab your guitar or go to your digitone or your OP1. I don't care what it is. You can prove this to yourself to make this just a fact. You don't have to just take my word for it. Is you can just take a chord and keep a few notes from the first chord and then make another chord around a few notes from that first chord. That's all you got to, like, that's the trick. You don't need to know music theory. You don't need to know any of it. No study. You can just explore. And when I was first learning music, when I was first grabbed my first guitar and my buddy taught me how to play some Blink-182 back in 1997 or something, which is crazy, right? It's been a while. I was, when I start, naturally, I would start exploring from there. I wasn't like somebody who was infatuated with covers, right? I just wanted to make new music. I wanted to make something that was mine immediately. That was my first thing I did as a music producer in general, or a musician in general, was to just instantly start thinking, I want to make something that's mine and not borrow from anyone else. That was a mistake in a way, but also it just is what it was. But if I could go back, I would tell myself to focus a little harder on learning other people's music, because that's how you learn quickly. And I can't lament on that any harder. It's a good idea to have reference tracks, to learn other people's music. That's how you get good fast. I know that now, but back then, that's just, that mentally, that's just where I sat. I bring my voice down so it doesn't clip too much. Okay, cool. So let's start over. Let's go to a brand new one. Wait, we'll save this because I think I did something cool. All right. So as you can see, my M8 tracker template is pretty barren, but it is a template nonetheless. What I'm doing is on 00 is defaulted to having 8 bars of blank patterns because I write my music in 8 bars. That's my production workflow. And then I have another scene that's very similar, but at the very beginning of it, it has a kill command, and this is my kill phrase. And the rest of it is just blank. I guess I could have used the zeros afterwards too, because, yeah, just because I guess I wasted that phrase. We'll see if I need it later. I have run out of phrases many times on the M8 because I've made that many iterations of stuff where it's just minor little details across the phrases. And you have a lot of phrases and a lot of instruments, and running out is not the easiest thing to do. So let's start with a chord progression. I'm gonna load up just a blank phrase, and we'll just start with we'll just loop 16 steps. Let's pick a tempo first. So I go to my settings. Let's go I wanna go a little slower, I think. Let's do 110. And let's start talking about making chords. Whatever reason, I always do 0 I leave the first instrument at 0, but there's no reason to do that. It's kind of like on the Octatrack. I don't know if you're an Octatrack user. A lot of people, instead of muting side A or side B on their scenes, will just make a blank scene instead of just muting one side. I don't recommend you do that. It's a waste of a scene. So maybe this is a waste of an instrument as well. Maybe I'll just use it. All right, so let's talk about the different engines on the M8 really quick. For us M8 users or people who are looking to get an M8, they're excited about the M8. How do I make chords? What do I do on the M8? Well, I think a really great method for you would be to use samples of chords. That's one version. We're not going to do that one today. But also 2 sample chords, which we may do because I do have my Toneverk and I have a microphone connected to my M8 right now. So if we want to grab Toneverk sounds, which is really cool, a nice poly synth or polyphonic sample player, multi-sample player. That's a great way to do it. There's a couple other engines. WaveSynth is not one of them. You do have the macro synth. And what's really cool about the macro synth and what's cool about the M8 tracker is that the developer is just in love with developing their instrument, apparently. And it comes across really well, and it's really good for us. This is not there's nobody out there developing stuff like the M8. Because even in the Electron realm, I love Electron, but as you've seen with some of their stuff, sometimes it comes out underdeveloped. And then it's suddenly one of their instruments is lacking development while they work on another one. That's not the case with the M8 tracker. The M8 tracker is one instrument. All the development goes into the same device. It's really cool. It's awesome to have so much attention and deep attention to detail to everything, to quality of life workflows, to just eking as much out of a Teensy 4.1 as you possibly can. There's nothing like it. One of the things that the developer added, Dirty Wave, is that even when you're doing chords in an engine that doesn't even make sense for chords, look at that. Notice there's 2 notes on there, 3 notes on the little keyboard in the bottom right. The M8 knows what chords these little details are. It knows the notes that they're playing, and it will show you them. And that's insane to me. So all the instruments in this macro synth do that. And then there's even another chord. There's a chord engine in here. Let me find it. Unless I already went past it. Wave paraphonic. Check this out. There's 4 notes. These are from braids. This is a way you can get chords on the M8 Tracker. This is crazy to me. And I know like this is old news for M8 Tracker users. Have been around for a while. But for those of you who are new to it or haven't or are interested in this device, this is cool. This is so cool to me, and this is why I love this thing. There's nothing quite like it. I've even customized my own color scheme on here. Like this is my own template for my color scheme. And it's awesome. But it just blows my mind. So this is another way you can get chords is with the macro synth. We can switch instruments. And here's another way to get chords with the FM synth. This is the most complex synthesizer on the M8 Tracker. The FM synth is not just an FM synth. It kind of reminds me of the Digatone FM synth, except for it's actually even more complex and offers you a little bit more. Although that the FM synth in terms of sound design, I just mean on the M8, it offers a different perspective, and maybe you'll get some sounds you wouldn't get on a Digatone, for instance. The Digatone is a true polyphonic FM synthesizer that is $1,200, $1,300, and it's should be respected in that regard. So I don't mean that this is better. This is different, but it's very powerful, and I think of it as a complex oscillator synthesizer that uses FM as its main way of thinking, its main way of working, its main way of generating complex waveforms is it uses FM, but it doesn't have to use FM as different algorithms that you can do. And one of the algorithms is particularly good for chords. It's made for chords. It's A plus B plus C plus D. You can get 4-note chords in here by assigning the pitch or the ratio, I believe, to a mod. And we're not going to do that because we're not going to use this, but this is a way that you can get chords. And I think that there are patches that I have in here. I have like, oh, I may just, my bad. That cooked my mate for a second. Sorry, I've been doing a lot of beta stuff here, but this isn't a beta. Forget that. Chord synth. These are patches that I made. Patch was too powerful. It happens. Super saw. Let's see if this is the... Oh, no, it's hypersynth. That's the one we're going to go to next, because that's the easy one. That's a nice patch. You can kind of tell when it's hypersynth because it sounds like super saw. Rave chord FM, here we go. So I didn't want to have to set this up because it takes too long. It's easier for us to find a patch. Yeah, you set it to the pitch. Of course you set it to the pitch. So the 3 different modulators plus the default note that you have in your sequence makes the chord. So these 3 pitches, and then you change your mods. So what you would do is you would go into your instrument selection and instrument mods, and you would get mod 1, mod 2, mod 3. Let me see here. FM1. See? FM2. Oops. FM3. Cool, right? Not too tough to make chords on the M8. But as you can hear, they're all playing at the same time. They're all, maybe you can hear this, they're all running through, if the filter was activated, they would all be running through the same filter and the same amplifier. And that's something you have to keep in mind. When you think about polyphony, you have to also think about how is polyphony achieved in the synthesizer. If you are a Microfreak owner, Arturia Microfreak, one of the most common synthesizers today, right now, I'd say the most common synthesizer is probably still the Microcore, because everybody probably still has them from when they first bought a synthesizer 25 years ago or whatever. Microcore is the most popular synthesizer on the planet, from what I understand. But I'd say the Microfreak is coming, like it's working its way up there as one of the most popular. Microfreak, if you're familiar, is a paraphonic synthesizer. One of the benefits the Microfreak has is that it has an analog filter. I believe it has an analog filter. I know the Mini Freak does for sure. And so this is something that this does as well. It doesn't have an analog filter, but it's all, what happens is that all the notes are being made by oscillators, and those oscillators are being fed through a filter and then through an amplifier, and they'll be modulated by the same envelope generator and the same LFO. So you're not gonna have LFOs on a per note basis. You're not gonna have LFOs on a per filter basis, which is not something you would expect on a polysynth either, is to have those, but you do expect to have a filter on a per oscillator basis and an amplifier on a per oscillator basis. That's what a truly polyphonic synthesizer does. There's polyphonic paraphonic. That's what the M8 does, is polyphonic paraphonic. However, this is really cool, there is a mode on the M8 that lets you treat the M8 as a truly polyphonic synthesizer. It's a setting in your MIDI settings on the M8, and you can, if you have two M8s, now I'm just being a show off, but if you have two of these, you can actually route your MIDI cable back into your other M8 and then treat this mate as a polysynth. Let me see. I don't use this M8 as much, obviously. I'm just using one of them. Yes, it's a much older one. It has less, or older firmware. It has less data in here. Let me see. MIDI. Track MIDI input. How would you set it up? Note channel. I think that's what you do. I hope that they add more control surface. You can see it has a Launchpad Pro control surface. Anyway, I haven't done it in forever, so I'm not going to try and explain it to you. I'm just going to fall on my face doing that. But you can do it. I did do it when I first got a second mate, and one travels with me and then one sits on the desk at all times because I need to work. And I teach this stuff, so this is why it's always here. But you can actually have one play another mate and treat it as a polysynth. Or you could have one play another mate and have 4 of the voices on the mate be a polysynth, or 5 of the voices, and then use 3 other voices for other sounds. So if you had 2 mates, you pair them together, one whole half of it could be a polysynth, a true polysynth. And it sounds vastly different to have a polysynth than a paraphonic synth. It's a really cool thing. So it's totally worth checking out. But okay, now let's get to the last way of doing chords on the mate. I believe the last way. Somebody could correct me. I'm not pretending to know everything. Is the hypersynth. The hypersynth is an engine that was developed specifically for making chords. Everything about it is about chords. Everything is about chords, and it sounds awesome. What I wish the hypersynth had, and I think it could totally have, and I would love it if Dirty Wave would add this. Maybe he'll hear this. If there was an ability to to shift between the wave shape. Like, it doesn't have to have wave shapes on all the different oscillators. Just have them all be the same wave shape. If we could go from square to sawtooth, that would be awesome. I would love to be able to get squares or triangles or anything like that to make chords with. But regardless, not going to complain. This engine is incredible. So what I like to do, and this is where we're going to start off with making some tunes, even though we've already been talking for like almost a half hour and we haven't done anything yet. That's pretty common for me. Is I'm going to erase the first couple of notes here. And this is just easy to wrap your head around because we're just going to try and, we're going to make a triad essentially and then throw in a 7th or a 6th. And then if we want, we can throw another note in to make a 13th or an octave to accentuate a certain part of the chord, usually accentuating the root note that you're trying to use. But if we do all 6 of them, that's a lot of oscillators, and it can sound really cool, and we can, but it's a little bit more to wrap your head around starting with so many notes, because it gets a little messy. So let's explain the synth a little bit. The name is still Ravechord FM. Bap. See ya. Okay, cool. So like you have all these different chords. You can have, I believe, 16 chords, and I actually made a chord pack for this synth engine. It's a copy of this synth. It's on my Patreon. It's free. It's also in the M8 Discord somewhere buried. But it has 16 different chord shapes, and you can just grab that and then you just, you know, cruise through these chord shapes and try and make a chord progression. It's really nice. It's really easy. But it's also really fun to explore chords on here. And so we're going to do what I said before. We're going to make a chord. We're going to copy that chord because this lets you copy chords. See at the bottom of there, it says copied chord. Lets you copy and paste chords. This is so easy and convenient. And we're going to use that to make chords. Right now we have only, it shows that we only have one oscillator playing, but we actually have all 4 of them. They're just all playing the same note. There's an octave. There's a third an octave up. Perfect fifth. There's our 7th. Cool. And this is playing the root. So what's cool about this is, like, if I take this away, you can see we're not playing a C note anywhere. Look at our note here. This is really, really important for you to understand when you're designing chords on the M8. I have a C5 in my sequencer, and I am not playing a C5. Right? But I will be playing a C5 when I add my root back in there. I just remove the root, and it makes a completely different chord. It's still making a triad, but it's not making that C5. Now we have a C major 7. Or C minor 7, I'm sorry. C major 7 is this. There we go. We're going to stick with the C minor 7. Do we want to stick with the C minor 7? Or do we want to use major 7s? I feel like minor 7s, and I've brought this up before and during these streams. What sounds, you would think minor is always associated with these like sadder ideas, these more melancholy or dark and evil, whatever chord shape. Minor chord. It's used for dub techno, like literally just the minor triad is like all dub techno is. Major 7, and you think Ionian, you think major chords are usually really, really happy and cheerful. I don't know about you. This is the minor 7. That's the major 7. And the major 7 is a lot more sad sounding to me than the minor 7. Even though it has this, I don't know, I guess they're both kind of sad, but I think major 7s sound more melancholy. Okay, so let's keep this up. We got this minor 7. Let's mess with the major 7 and see what happens here. Maybe we put the root down. Typically when you're playing a piano, you would, I mean, what's a really cool idea? Let's do 5 notes. I said we weren't going to, but like, let's do 5 notes. We'll do this in the octave. So it'll be like truly what you would do on a typical piano progression is you would do an octave of your bass. This is really common piano workflow. Octave on your bass, and you do the rest of the chord shape with your right hand, and you make up the rest of the 3rd, the 5th, and the 7th. And so we'll do that here. What's cool about this engine is you have this, these two things are awesome. I don't really use shift all that much. But you have a sub oscillator. This is 1 octave down, 2 octaves down. And you can dial this in. You can modulate this, create some really cool stuff. There's a decent amount of sound design you can do with this hypersynth. It's much like the Swarm engine on your Digatone and on your Digitact. I'm sorry, and on your Syntact. Polyphonic on your Digatone, so that's where it really shines. You can turn our filter on. I really like to use this ZDF filter, which I believe is like a zero crossing or through zero filter, something like that. I forget. Somebody tell me what it is. I forget what it is. Okay, so we have Swarm, which is going to detune your sawtooths. Sounds super fat. super. Width will make it essentially sound like chorus, but what it's taking is moving all the oscillators in the stereo field. So it's putting them all, spreading them all across the stereo field, all the way like this. Will spread those voices big time. Listen to that. Pretty sick. And then if you go to the middle of the swarm, or yeah, bring it all the way up, you get this really like cool, weird, it sounds very, very interesting. Oh, how cool is that? Shift will like shift which oscillator set, like what side of the oscillators you're listening to. The top end, the lower notes. In the middle, it's equal to both. I think this sounds really nice. What I want to do is add vibrato. There's a couple different ways to add vibrato. 3, I would say, the top of my head. And I like to add vibrato whenever I can. And we're gonna start assigning filter envelopes, LFOs, and all that in just a moment. Maybe even go into our table, which is really fun. And we have an EQ. Pretty sick with mid-side split, which works really well on an engine like the Swarm engine because we already have so much stereo width. So we could do some sound design there. I don't think we're gonna focus on that because we're talking about doing chords. That's a little bit deeper than I want to go, and I'm not trying to stream for 4 hours today because that's how lost I will get in the EQ. Because that's where I get lost the most, for sure. I just lose my mind in EQs, especially in video production. Okay, so we have our first beautiful chord, and we have also a vibrato effect that we can use. It works really, really well. Pitch vibrato, set this. Listen to that. We could do like Boards of Canada style and have it be really low. In terms of its speed. It's still faster than I would want it to be for Boards of Canada type stuff. And this is as slow as it gets. I guess 0 is as slow as it gets. And then you can totally offset your whole chord here. Not bad, right? Sounds pretty cool. Filter sounds really nice. The ZDF filter, in my opinion, sounds even better than the other filter. It does let more, like it's got a different slope. This filter has a sharper slope. Sounds more like a DJ filter. I think this one sounds more like a synth filter. It's smoother, way smoother. Which I think has to do with the slope. Anyway, I think that vibrato is let's go back. It's a little slow. Out of here. Flying around me. Okay. So we have our first chord. And we can have a lot of fun really fast, even without assigning any of our modulators here. If we just threw down like a kick drum, 4 on the floor, and let chords just blare like this, and then just sidechain them down to silence, it would just take us straight into this pumpy, wonderful sound. In fact, let's just listen to it really fast because I just want you to show you how quickly and how much fun this production technique is, because it's so easy. Go to your sampler. Let's grab a sound. I love this particular pack. It's called DT. Let me show you what it's called. HTDH. I don't remember the actual name of it. Look that up on Loop Cloud, I think. I think that's where I got the whole pack from. But it's just loaded with these fantastic, listen to these kicks. Snares, kicks, everything. Like, I don't ever have to go to another pack for EDM type stuff, or techno for that matter. This person who made this pack is just off the chain. That's a good kick. Okay, so look, let's just do 4 on the floor real quick. Oh, and bring these down to their octave they should be. So many cool quality of life things when it comes to like editing, copying, pasting, moving stuff around. M8's got you covered big time. And I'm not even looking at the device. I'm looking at my computer. Me and you are looking at the same thing, and I'm doing this all with my hands. There's no other instrument like that other than like an actual guitar or a piano that I can do that with. This is the only electronic music instrument I don't have to look at while I make music on it. It's crazy to like actually look at the controls. I don't have to look where the encoder is, where anything is. It's identical to a game controller. It's insane to me. Okay, let's just do this really fast just so we can hear it. I'm gonna go into a modulator and, whoops, I'm going too fast. Go into my modulator. I always use the 4th one for this. Our destination is gonna be the volume. We're gonna go negative. Let's just go all the way down to silence so we can really hear this. The source will be this kick drum, and check this out. Can't go wrong with that, right? That doesn't sound bad. That doesn't suck to me. No effects or anything going on. So check this out. Even if we just leave it like that, and we probably should, just so that we can move forward with what we're doing today and get to some actual music making. I like how we're starting off with our chord. Well, let's copy this chord and move to the next one. This is where the little gold mine is with the M8 tracker and doing chord progressions lies, especially with this hypersynth, particularly with the hypersynth, but it works on, like, it can work similarly as well on other ones, but no other engine on the M8 lets you copy chords like this does. See how it says chord? I can hold shift and hit option and copy the chord, go to the next chord, shift and paste the chord. Now I'm using chord 2. It says chord 01, but that's because 00 is a chord. But I'm using chord 2, and I can go in and just change what we do on this chord. And as you saw, we're not actually playing a C chord. You can ignore the note value. This is just gonna be a transposition, essentially. I mean, we are playing a C chord. I'm sorry, we are playing a C major 7, but that C major 7, that doesn't matter is what I'm getting at. We don't have to play C major 7. We could literally just leave these 3 notes from our chord and take these down. Let's do it with the higher note because it's easier to hear. Or it's not easier to hear. It's because my swarm's up so high. Let's get that out of here. Just for this. So we're gonna take this A note, and we're gonna make this match that. Now we're getting an octave down. Here's our 2 chords. Keeping those same notes, the top part of our chord, and we just change the root. They play right into each other. It's really easy. So now we can go in and we can just like edit out, change one of these notes we wanted. Right? I actually kind of like it just keeping that top end because it sounds really nice. It's kind of a somber, jazzy way of moving around. And maybe the next chord, we can change some of the top. And then you just kind of evolve from there. It's a really easy way to work in terms of making chords. It took me a long time to get to this. This is really essentially what I wanted to show you today, was how easy it is to start making productions this way. Then once you have to think about this, remember that you're set on chord 01 as your default. So you want to go back to chord 00 before you start messing with this. We want to actually use a chord command. The last thing you press edit on in your instrument window or modulator, and your mix, all the stuff, the last thing that you press edit on back in your effects row will put that in. So if I go here and I hit width and I go back, it's going to let me program it. It's amazing. Quality of life. There's nothing quite like the MA when in terms of how much the quality of life stuff has been put into this device. It's the best instrument. I wish that Dirty Wave had a budget of like $1 million so that they could put like, you know, an ARM processor in here or something, or like an M1 or something crazy, so we could have like full-on huge polysynths but keep the M8 workflow. It would be amazing, and hopefully one day we'll get something like that from the M8. So we can take this and we can even just put in the same note here, or just copy this row. Copy, and I could paste it down here, and then change this chord. That's kind of cool. When I go up, swarm up that high, we can't hear those root notes anymore, though. They're buried. How can you not do the width, right? That kick might be too punchy, actually. We're gonna change that. Lets you audition. Audition the sample if you just hold the play button while you're doing this. It's crazy. That seems nice. Okay, let's add some effects to this really quick. You can change now. We have a flanger and a phaser that you can choose from for your mod effect. Chorus, flanger, phaser. The flanger and the phaser are pretty new as of late this year, or I think late this year. So I think the phaser sounds really, or is it the flanger that I like so much? We'll find out in a second. And you can edit this and, you know, the effect too. We just keep going down. And how loud it is too. Flanger. Pretty cool, because we don't need chorus, that's for sure. We already got that going on. Flangers and phasers are made from the same tools that make chorus. Some nice reverb. You can even edit our reverb. You can give it shimmer if we want. Here's shimmer. Reverb is overwhelming. This is definitely too much. Let's go ahead and get back to our instrument. Whoops. 5%. You could honestly just make your whole track just going and just playing with this simple progression like this, but I really like having like dun, 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 you know, some sort of rhythm. So let's do that. Let's go ahead and add some modulators to this and turn it into a typical synthesizer sound. I'm going to assign my attack, hold, decay envelope to filter cutoff, and I'm assigned 1 to the volume, and it's already at this default decay value that equals 1 phrase, 5 steps, and 2 ticks. I don't know why, but that's the value. I think that's just halfway in between. All right, let's go ahead and sounds really nice. The little sidechain thing sounds pretty cool on that, but this might sound better without sidechain on it for this particular shape of envelope that I used. So let's not do that. Let's just stick with these decay envelopes. We're gonna go short. We're gonna make this a little bit more punchy. Oh, I still got attack here. Yeah. This is where we can, like, this separation like this really makes it more obvious, the chord. And I think if I wanted to put like some like musical notes in between, here's an idea that just popped in my head. I don't know why I never thought of this. Let's just take this, go right here, clone this instrument, and turn off all the oscillators. Duh. And just make them sound like, there we go. Yes. So now it's an identical sound. Actually, we should maybe stack these oscillators and then it will sound all full. Yeah. So if I want to put some notes in, that sound like the same instrument, they won't cascade over each other. All right, I'm gonna turn off this sidechain really quick. Somebody is in the chat is asking, how do you do the sidechain? How is the sidechain working here? I'm using a trig envelope. I'm targeting the volume. I'm having it go on negative depth, and I'm using the kick drum as the source. So it's using the kick drum's trigger. It's not an envelope follower as far as I know. No, it's not an envelope follower because it's just trig envelope. It says it right there. So every time a gate from, or a trig, an unmuted trig from the kick drum, you can choose an instrument. It's instrument, essentially. It's not that it has to be kick drum. It's an instrument. It'll trigger this envelope, and I can do attack, hold, and decay for that envelope, and negative and positive. So you can do expansion, or you can do reduction for the volume. I'm gonna turn it off for now. That's an idea that I might explore later. Let's put in some more of these chords. Let's find a rhythm that we like. I mean, any rhythm's always gonna work, that's the truth. What if we move it down? Stick with our OG thing. We don't have to do... Let's throw this next kick. When did it happen? On 9. I like that. This kick drum still feels too punchy. I'm holding Option, using left and right arrows. It's letting me jump to phrases that I've created, which is why I'm able to flip back and forth between these instruments so quickly. Even though they're on the opposite sides of my song, I can still move between them really quickly. All right, let's make a new chord. We'll put it on this one here. Let's copy these values. And we'll put chord 3 here, which is called chord 2. So we're going to go to chord 2, copy that, go to chord 3 and paste it. And then let's that might be fun. Okay, it's a G. So let's bring this down to a G. There we go. See what it's like to go up an octave here. Those sound really nice together, don't they? That's nice. I like to add a little bit of post-filter overdrive. Oh no, it's clipping. It's clipping in my Octatrack, I think. Don't have my gain staging set up right at the moment. That's sad. Let's just forget that, leave it where it is, because it sounds just fine to me. At least I think so. Hopefully I'm not too quiet on my microphone here. I think I like hearing the actual like the attack of the chord. My brain's telling me to put a snare in, and I like to listen to my brain. All right. Let's go EDM. Snares are awesome. That's a nice one. Let's make 2 phrases. Let's clone this one. Move this snare here. Turn this into like an accent. That's nice. All right, let's get like a simple hi-hat pattern going here. Again, I'm gonna keep using my sampler for drums because I like the sound of good drums, even though you can make some really great drums using the FM engine, for sure, and there's some nice drums in the macro synth as well, but I'm just gonna stick with what I like. These two sound like they go together. Oh, that's a nice hi-hat. Give it a little room. That's pretty. So I feel like a straight beat here would be good, and then kind of edit that straight beat after the fact. But then, of course, you know, give them some different values. So let's copy that value and paste it every other one for now. Oh no, that's awful. And this hat is way too long. Maybe it's something like that's definitely better. Can't have that straight rhythm, was no good. I don't know, why do I like that? That's weirdly cool. Of course, can assign a volume modulator to it, and then we can actually All right, so one of the cool things that you can do once you get just like a chord progression going, we could of course quantize this all to a scale if we knew what scale we were playing in, which I think we're playing in C major at the moment. Wait, I can find that out. I can at least see if I'm playing in C major. Yes, I am. So that would make it really easy. We could just turn C major on and we can not really screw anything up. But I like having accidentals. You are able to do scale quantization on a per track level and also on a global level, so that like everything conforms to that scale. But if you do it on global level, that will also reflect on your drums, which can be kind of weird if you were doing like some stuff with the pitch in your drums. But it also makes it so like it sounds like, I don't know, it almost sounds like AI generated music or something, because it's just so perfect, as opposed to having those accidentals in there, which is what makes music sound really good, is when you have some notes that like leave the scale and kind of like, you know, fling some emotion here or there in a different direction than that scale was already taking you in. So we can copy this, let's paste it, and then clone it. And maybe do another chord. So then we have some room now to kind of, I think what could be inspiring would be to put in a bass line. I always conform my M8 tracks to kick, snare, hat, open hat, bass. I don't know what goes here, leads. Yeah, usually leads. Chords are always on 8 for me, no matter what. I do like vocals and stuff. These two tracks are kind of like whatever need to be auxiliary tracks. This is always chords, so I always know where to find my chords. And 5 is always my bass, and the rest are all drums. And sometimes I'll add, you know, some extra drums here or there on different patterns. Right now we're using some uneven phrase amounts. Well, we should probably fix that. At least keep them all at 2, since that's what I've been doing so far. We'll just keep that where it was. It's a nice little jammy progression so far. Dun, 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 dun. All we need to do is have like add another chord that's different here for chord 1. So let's go to chord, what would be 4. And, oh, you could even just do it with the bass. Just take the bass notes out. We could just take the bass notes out entirely and put the bass on another track, which is what we're going to do anyway. We're going to put the bass on another track and kind of ignore the bass and the chord progression and have that be done with another synth track. And that will let you experiment a little further in a more detached way than playing with these two right here and having to like look at the keyboard. Can you resample? Yes, you can. Kroglon. All right, let's go to our chord 3. Let's copy this chord and go to 3. And we're just, here's something we can do is go to this new chord, hold Shift, Option, highlight it, Shift play. We can just play these 3 things right here. We can just have it do this right now. And now I can go in here and just edit and listen to this chord audition itself. Let's go to a minor. It's kind of a cool chord. That's a really thick sounding. It doesn't work. Let's paste that again. Hold on. Keep it all somber. A low chord progression. And this is how I get a song started. Like right now we're playing, I'm intentionally trying to make something with a lot of chords in a small section so that I could talk through this with you, because that's what we do on these streams. We're talking about music production and I want to demonstrate ideas, try and articulate them to you in a way that is digestible. Anyhow, thought I'd share that. Now's a good moment for me to take a sip of my espresso because it's officially gotten super cold. But before I do that, that sounds nice. Kind of like that. It's kind of cool. This would be good for a breakdown. That's really pretty. I like that. All right, I'm gonna play with that for a minute. Let's go to a new instrument. We can easily see what our bass line is too, which is really nice. Very, very nice to do. My favorite instrument on here is absolutely this. It's the wave synth, without a doubt. I always set the size to its maximum amount, which you can't really see here, and you can see when I go to a wavetable. Watch this. When I go to size and bring it down, aliasing. Some people really like that for chiptunes. You bring it all the way up, it gets to that, I believe, more like 16-bit. This is half of it should be 8-bit, I guess. I'm guessing. But this is the bit rate, bit depth. How cool is that? I have this fantastic patch that I made. It's my favorite. I think probably my favorite patch I've made on the M8 that I use for bass often. Slapper. Check this sucker out. It's just really fun. It needs to, you have to use off messages to program it. That's how I like to do it, at least. And then you can like bop ba dop ba dop bop bop. There's a song I made that I particularly love using it. I think I used some sidechain with it. There's more to it, I suppose, because I'm a little... While it sounds really good, I remember more to it than that. Let me go back to what I was doing. You can't really unload a patch. We'll just clear everything out. No, this is better. I'm just going to go and... go here and just do it again. Back to WaveSynth. Oh, another really cool bass thing, actually, because WaveSynth is really fun, but the Hypersynth is really great for just doing a sawtooth bass. What? Did I just paste this instrument again? Oh no, here we go. Do like 2 oscillators and... So another great way to do bass. I like it a lot. But let's switch this out back to what I was doing. Find a wavetable. Scan that table. It's got some nice low end to it. Question is, what kind of bass do we want to use with a track like this? Probably something that's like Moogish, maybe? Let's maybe give it a 16th note. Half-Life 3? GG, dual M8 or bust. Couldn't agree more, my friend. All right, let's look at this chord progression really quick. What notes for it? It's on 3, 9, C. Let's start here. I guess we could just keep the same note, right? And let's just clone that because it's mostly the same. What am I doing? Just clone that. What's the next part? Kind of sounds nice with that G there. It's pretty simple so far, but you can see like we're getting somewhere, aren't we? We're only using 2 bars. Different experience entirely from Electron. We're only at hour 20. We're good. We can keep going. We keep grinding. I'm liking this little track. It's fun. Wish I had some vocals in here. How hard would that be to audition? If I can do a harmony. Third high. Right. Another one of those situations where I could just be futzing around with a piece of equipment on stream, and I don't like doing that. How is that C? That's definitely not C. One of these notes I do should be the right harmony. Third high. Harmony on this thing sucks. There's no good harmony vocal things in hardware. They just don't exist. You have to use MIDI to get that done. I'm not fussing with it. I'm just not. I'm not dealing with it. It's gonna irritate me. Let's copy this. Let's make everything 4 bars now. Let's expand to 4 bars. Vocal thing was a bust. Sometimes you're in the mood to futz around with stuff. Sometimes it just ain't right. Let's make this have a little... Oh wait, should I have done that there? Is it on the kick? You can interpolate, instant interpolation. Is that snare a little quiet? Turn on a little OTT maybe? The OTT really brings up the reverb. Yeah, it sounds so good. I don't know what it is about the samples on the M8, just like so punchy sounding in a different way than Electron. I don't know what it is. I know it's just repeating over and over. I hope you're not getting annoyed. This is life. Life repeats over and over until you get annoyed and you do something about it, right? It's like the definition of insanity. Let's do 8 bars now that we have a nice little iteration on our drums to make things a little less cray-cray. Probably do some stuff with the hi-hats too, add some silence in. And this is my workflow. I mean, you're getting a little insight into like kind of how my brain works currently on the Mate. I wanted to do chords today, so that's our focus for sure, which means we need to make even more chords. How does that work so well? Wait, let's see if going up. That's crazy on that right there, though. That sounds awesome. Wait a second. If only it would continue that way. Let's see. Which sounds good on this one. Probably nothing. Yeah. The transpose is like a lot of inspiration, a lot of happy accidents in transpose. That's pretty cool. I'm gonna hear this again really quick. It's really just that I like that it went up 3 semitones on that first chord. So I could easily add that in, copy this phrase, and just take this up 3 semitones. Is that a bad idea? Ooh, I just had an idea. That could sound good for its own thing. Let's just put zeros in here and kind of just even this out. Copy this and paste it. Clone this. I'm gonna have this be like my break. Yeah, I have an idea. Beat it. Let's just make a rhythm out of this chord right here. No, it needs to be more often than that. That did not work. Oh, that's kind of cool. What the hell? It's chord 3. What? That's hella cool. Okay. Oh. Fudge. I didn't clone it first. Why did I do that? All right, hold on. What was it? What was it? I only cloned the phrase. It's this rhythm. 9C. We can fix it. Okay, I fixed it. Oh my god, let's save this project. Jesus. Whoops. What is this? I don't even know what to call it. Call it, well, because I have not a creative bone in my body, we'll call it chords, apparently. With a Z. Yeah. Get wrecked. Universe. Okay. Let's do it right this time. Deep clone. Okay, now let me try and remember what I had in mind. It was chord 3. It sounded really cool next to this transposed chord. So good. like that. Okay. Bye. We're just going to do this for now. This is making an iteration on a part, and we need to go over to our bass line, because it sounds good with the existing bass line. And the existing drums, even. Bring those over here. But we need to deep clone this bass line, because it only works on 7 so far. That's a dope rhythm. So this I'm gonna have be like kind of my break, I think. So I call these islands. This is one island. Since they're not touching, the cursor won't move on to the second island. You can work in these little islands where you develop different parts of your songs. It's kind of like having multiple patterns, but it's all in the same perspective. This is really important, I think. This is what's really cool about working in a tracker, and particularly one that has these different perspectives on what you're working on. Very easy to see and understand. Is that I can actually see my whole song, and I can have these I can have iterations of like, here's a version of pattern 1 that sounds like this. Here's a version of pattern 1 that sounds like this. Here's a version of pattern 1 that sounds like this. I can start moving them around and placing them in different spots. You can easily make iterations of things in a completely different mental perspective than you would on an Electron box. Because Electron box feels like way more one-dimensional, two-dimensional, I guess, way more one-dimensional. Since we're third-dimensional beings, we can't actually perceive things in third dimension, so it'd be in the second dimension. So in electron stuff, it'd be even more, another dimension lower, because I feel like the M8 lets us see things a little more two-dimensional, so pardon me for that. Even if that even is true or makes sense, but that's how I'm thinking about it. It's a good time to say what's up to the chat and finish this espresso. Cool. What's going on, Chet? Geiger. Bach 420, what's going on? Catabatic. How's it going, homie? Reason Beat. Recliner. That's a great way to spell recliner. I love that. Really like that name. Reason Beat. What's going on? Kyle. Sean. How are you? Calderwood. Doug. Serranian? Serranian. El Danny. Jarvis. Schneider. Nocturnal Spring. What else we got in here? Aoki. Oh, wait. Akeo. Aok. Aok? Maybe that's what it's supposed to be. Kroglon. Shahiko, Gigi, and Lewis, and Pat. What's up, everybody? I was able to say hello to everybody. How are y'all doing? Yes, I used the V2, as Catabatic pointed out. V1 and the V2, really no difference in terms of your music production. There's a built-in microphone on the V2, and it's USB-C, and it's a bigger screen, so you don't have to you can use the smaller font, and it will fit, and it works like the large font on the V1. I mean, not many people have V1s anymore, but I imagine the same amount of people have V1s. No one's throwing them away. But I think even more people have V2s. I think more V2s have been developed. That'd be crazy. How's it going, everybody? I hope everybody's enjoying the little stream jam that we're doing today and just futzing around with chords and playing with different ideas and kind of trying to explain a bit a fun workflow and how you can just easily create a chord progression using hypersynth in particular, but there's many other ways of doing it. We made this little jam with 2 parts so far. some really punchy drums. And a little transition part. As I listen to stuff, I start thinking to myself, like, I want to change this chord. I want this chord to be a little sadder. Like, I want this, you know, I'll get inspired by something new and I'll go back and I'll make copies of like the whole song. Like I'll save the song as whatever, what do we call it? Chords? I'll save it as chords 1 and chords 2 and chords 3. And I'll go in and start like totally demolishing the project in a new version of it so that I can find, like these little nuggets of goodness and kind of like show you exactly what I mean. So if I go, maybe I deleted them, but if we go into like load other songs here, you'll see like Mech 1 when I was doing some work for this game, Mechabellum, Reach 2, because Reach and Reach 1 were already used. I deleted them because I've committed to Big Fire 2. Like these are finished songs. If there's not another number after it, that means the song is completed. But I'll go and I like make iterations of projects. We'll save this. So little examples, like I did a little lesson yesterday where I was teaching essentially this method, but doing it way faster. I did it in an hour and we did it today in an hour and 40 minutes. This one. Love these cute little songs like that. They're just like fun little jams. They sound really cool on speakers, like big speakers at a show. These really melodic sounds because they're so stereo, they're so huge sounding, and the M8 just punches so hard. Let's see, what else was I messing with? Almost done. Another same workflow. This time using the FM synth. Because it has, I'm using wavetables in the FM synth because I wanted to play with that. Because a FM synth on this box can use wavetables. It's totally crazy how cool that is. There's lots of things like with the mate. I feel like there's a lot of times where you just like start stuff and then don't come back later, even though it's like, this sounds crazy. I like that. Fun little jams. Another completed song, Night Surfing 2. Too loud for YouTube, apparently. Same idea here I was talking about. Instead of using a chord there, I'm doing an arpeggio. You can do some really cool sound design with hypersynth. I was talking about this earlier in this stream. Like when something's finished, it can sound super full. Again, the chords on track 8. Hypersynth for the chords. This little box is dope. Cool. Well, I'm gonna go back to the project I was just in, but I think I would start adding like leads in here, and like I just like punish myself doing leads. I made that a little quiet on the octave track. Hang on. But when I do like a lead, and I'm not going to dive into that because I think we're about at time for our Saturday afternoon jam sesh. But I would just literally go in and throw notes down. Like this. That's phrase 0. Shouldn't have done that. Should I have kept that up right here? This actually would be like kind of a cool idea to do this. And then stuff like that, and start just jamming your head in there. But that little... Should this be down a note? Ooh, that little delay on there. Ooh, yeah. That's actually kind of nice. Just hear how this sounds. Just like maybe sound design a little bit here. No, this is the bass synth. We need to change this instrument. Let's clone it. I just like said I was going to be done, and then I got distracted by how much I like this little sound. This little... Do I like it early? Yes, you can you can nudge micro timing. That's kind of what I'm hearing too, actually. There is something about that. There's a delay parameter with a sequencer effect, and you can use it. I believe you can do a negative delay and pull it backwards in time. Where am I? There it is. Oh no, that's not the case. Oops. Like, what's nice about the sequencer commands is that it gives you a description of what it does up at the top. But I believe you do want to, I guess I'd have to put it in the note before if I wanted to delay it to micro time it over. So you'd put it early. There's stuff in here I've not even used yet, like setting the tempo of a track in the middle of a sequence. That's really cool. Mess with the global groove, which is really fun. Like, changing the groove would completely change the song. I'm kind of curious how that would sound, actually. this in the 0, 0. So there's like a million of this playing at the same time. My goodness. I'm a genius. That's why it sounded so freaking loud. It does sound like it needs to be like micro-timed or something. Let's just see something. That definitely does not work. It tells you a little something about the key you're in. I do like that rhythm. That's pretty cool. Could play with that idea for a while. Second part. Slide right there would be really cool. Or pitch bend. That pitch bend to here would be really cool. Pitch slide. See where some cool ideas can come into play here. Could also get really crazy and go like kind of electron style and go to the instrument mods. Let's just jump over to the instrument and pick our thing that we want to go. I think it's scan would probably be the most effective thing here. Grab some random values. That's super effective with the macro synth. Doing stuff like this, but choosing different oscillator shapes, and like gives you, sometimes it'll grab a chord, or sometimes it'll grab like these triple oscillators, and it will just, you can do some really cool stuff, some crazy stuff with the macro oscillator and using the effects lane to modulate stuff. But anyhow, I think that's going to be it for me. It's a fun little jam for Saturday. Good to be playing with the Mate again. Nice to be making something that's like a little uplifting in the tune spectrum. My name is Matthew, aka EZBOT. If you like watching this kind of stuff, you can subscribe to this channel. I do it every Tuesday, and I try and do it a second time every week if I can, if I don't release a second video every week. If you want to support this channel, you can visit patreon.com/EZBOT. If you want to pick up my performance templates, which are fun to play with. They make crazy sounds like this. With any music that you run into it, you can visit Patreon for that or coffee.com/EZBOT and pick those up. Otherwise, just coming and hanging out is a great way to support the channel. You can also hype this channel. There's a hype functionality on YouTube now. So if you want to hype videos and stuff like that for channels that are under 100,000 subscribers, I believe, which I am, under 100,000, that will push me up in the algorithm. So try that out. I don't even know if it'll work, but that'd be cool to have people try that out. And I'll see you next Tuesday. Thanks for hanging out. I hope that I was able to impart a little bit of knowledge onto you, or at least give you some entertaining video music production that wasn't listening to the horrible situation with our politics, because that's what I end up watching on YouTube all day long, and it makes me sad. The music makes me happy. All right, folks, I'll see you all next time. Where's our track? Huh? Where's our track?